Welcome to Table for One. I'm the narrator, and in today's video, I'll be doing a rules refresher for Revenant. And so in this video, I'm going to go over the Reason module from the Reason and Faith expansion. Let's get rolling. Alright, so I am all set up to teach you how to play the Reason module from the Reason and Faith expansion. And so I have a partial setup here. I've only got the components out that I really need in order to teach you how to do this. And as usual, I am breaking this up into chapters. So if you want to jump to a specific place, go ahead and do that. I will also have the anything specific to solo mode in its own chapter at the end. But while you're thinking about it, please consider leaving a like on this video, subscribing to the channel, and potentially heading over to my Ko-fi page. There's a link in the description. But let's jump right into it. So we're going to start with any setup changes that you need for the Reason module. And so the first thing you're going to need are the 4 science vessels. They look like this. And as you can see, they hold corruption. They can take 1 damage before they explode, so the same amount as a dropship or a fighter. And importantly, they have no house affiliation. So there's a reminder on them that when you visit one of these science vessels, you gain 1 hidden influence card. We'll talk more about that in a minute. There are 4 of these, and you place one on sectors 2, 4, 6, and 8, so the 4 corners of the board. So I've got 2 of the corners showing here. And for reference, the science vessels are all identical. And then the next thing you need to do is place 1 damage marker on every arc ship at the start of the game, which is pretty interesting. So, of course, there are 7 arc ships. I've got a few of them on screen here. So put 1 damage marker on every arc ship. Then each player will gain 1 data cube on their frigate board. So that's kind of interesting too, huh? We're all starting with 1 data cube. The rest of the changes are going to happen up in this area. So the first thing we need to do is shuffle and place nearby the 14 blue early research tiles and the 8 late research tiles. So just make a couple of stacks of these after they're all shuffled up into their 2 different stacks. And then we've got 2 overlay tiles that are going to go on the main sequence board. Here is the first one. So this is telling you that during the action step, if you send one of your crew to either your frigate or a science vessel, then you gain 1 hidden influence card. So I'd already alluded to that. So this tile is just going to go right here. So normally it's just reminding you when you go to your frigate, gain a hidden influence card. Now it's reminding you when you go to your frigate or the science vessel. And the second overlay tile is this one. This is telling you to refresh the research tiles on offer, and notice the little blue box and border around it. So this tile is going to go right here, and it's the last step of this recall phase. And so the blue border around that matches the blue border around that whole box. And then finally, we're going to need this Reason extension tile. And so this is telling you what the science vessel can do. So when you visit the science vessel with one of your crew members, you can gain 1 movement similar to a dropship or a fighter, and or you can take the research action, which is to spend 1 of your operation cards, and you have to spend either 1 data cube or 1 void residue from your frigate board in order to gain a research tile. So I'll talk more about this in detail in a minute. And then there's a reminder at the bottom that tells you how many of these tiles are on offer, depending on the number of players. So in a solo game or a 2-player game, there's always 2 on offer. There are 3 on offer in a 3-player game and 4 on offer in a 4-player game. And then the very bottom of this is telling you, depending on what cycle it is, cycle 1, 2, 3, or 4, this is the directions that you follow to refill the offer during the upkeep phase. Or I'm sorry, the recall phase. Getting my icons confused. So we'll talk about all that in more detail, but then I'm just going to put this right here. So we are, let's say, I'm kind of set up for a solo game ish, but we'll say we're playing a 2-player game. So the first thing we're going to do before cycle 1 is we're going to put 2 of the early research tiles out on the offer. And the order doesn't matter, but we're going to flip these like so. So if it was a 3-player game, we would have a third one, and a 4-player game, we would have a fourth one. And so there's no limit to the number of these tiles that you can gain, and each one provides a unique ongoing ability that affects all of your crew members, both your captain and your cadets. So again, in order to gain one of these, you take any of your crew members, visit any science vessel. Obviously, if it's corrupted, you gain a corruption as normal. When you visit the science vessel, then you gain one hidden influence card, and then you can take the research action and you can move the science vessel in either order. So the research action, again, spend one command card, discard one from your hand, and you must spend either one data cube from your faction mat or one void residue, which is any of these 3 spaces here if you have corruption there. You cannot spend the corruption from your compartments. It's specifically the void residue. Likewise, you cannot spend corruption from ships, only the corruption that you've already sort of cleared. So you spend either one of these void residue or one of these data cubes along with an operations card, and now you can gain a research tile from this row. So let's say you take this one, you just keep it near your player area, and it is immediately active, and it's ongoing for the rest of the game, and you do not refill the offer at that time. So just for fun, let's take a look at these couple. But the Reason and Faith expansion does include an appendix that details all of these, but this one is Polyadaptive Fabricator. So when you play a operation card from hand, you can replace one of the resource costs with any other resource, and then you can draw another card. So that's pretty cool. The other one here is Void Pulse Sensors. Before the skirmish step happens, you may move 3 non-arc ship house ships, but it has to be cautious movement. So that's a good way to get ships that are important to you out of harm's way before the skirmishes. Now that brings up an important point. The science vessels are indeed considered house ships for all other game purposes, such as the number of ships, the limit to the number of ships in a sector, or for moving ships, or even for building ships. Whatever this house ship iconography is, it always applies to science vessels as well. Now, there are a few interactions between operations cards and the science vessels that could use a little bit of clarification. So the first one here on the screen is a command card. This is called Saving Grace. And you can see on the card it says, remove all damage from any house ship to gain 1 influence with the house of that ship. You may use this on a science vessel to remove damage from it, but if you do, then you do not gain any influence. So I think that makes enough sense. It's just worth clarifying. And then the other interaction I wanted to point out here was from these 6 cadet cards. You can see they're all House Xenor. So you've got Miner, Sergeant, Spy, Logistic, Trader, and Innovator. They all have the same bottom effect. So the bottom effect is right after your crew action, gain 1 science for each crew member on a ship with a different house affiliation. And I've gone over this before. That means a unique house affiliation. And the Revenant and the frigates don't have a house affiliation. And so likewise, the science vessels do not give you any science for any crew members on them as well. You gain no science for crew members on science vessels because just like the Revenant and your frigate, they have no house affiliation. So just kind of worth pointing out. Now let's move on to the recall phase. So we do all of our normal recall stuff. We pull all of our crew back. We get any ships on planets off the planets. We refill data cubes. We check the turn order with the tactics track. And then the last step here is to refill this offer. So this will be a little bit different based off of which cycle it is. I'm going to bring this tile back up onto the screen. And so what it's saying there on the bottom is at the end of cycle 1, when we're in cycle 1 and we're doing the recall phase, then you will refresh the offer, replacing any empty spots on the offer with another early research tile. So in this example here, I've taken 1 early research tile. There's 1 left. We're playing, say, a 1 or 2 player game. So we would take 1 early research tile and replace the 1 that disappeared. If nobody had taken any, then nothing would refresh. If they were all gone, we would refresh again back up to the limit for whatever our player count is. So that's what happens in cycle 1. Let's take a look at the tile again. When we're in the recall phase of cycle 2, then you remove any remaining early research tiles, and then you refill the offer with late research tiles. So again, going back to the board, let's say this is how it looked at the end of cycle 2. Nobody had taken any. Well, they're both early research, so we're going to remove them both and replace them both with late research. So again, you're just going to use these late research tiles and fill up the offer, again, depending on your player count. And then if we go back to the tile, when we are in cycle 3, then you refresh the offer again using only the late research tiles. And if you are in cycle 4, you don't refresh the offer at all because it's the end of the game, so nobody's going to be able to acquire any more tiles. So let's put this back now, and as you expect, the late research tiles tend to have cooler, more powerful effects. So we'll just take a look at this one here just for fun. This one is Singularity Core. So when you have this tile and you visit the Revenant, you don't have to pay any costs. It doesn't matter which of the actions you're taking on the Revenant, you pay no resource costs, which is cool. And or you can build a science vessel in any sector. So that one's pretty interesting. So I think that's mostly how this module works. So we just need to talk about scoring now. So during the final scoring step, you do all the normal scoring that you normally do, but there's one other thing you're going to do. You gain prestige, which is victory points, for the number of research tiles you have based on the number of remaining science vessels in the fleet. So it's really the number of vessels minus 1, meaning if there are 4 science vessels left, if all 4 of them are still left, then you get 3 prestige, 3 victory points per tile that you have. If there are 3 science vessels left, you gain 2 prestige for each research tile you have. If there are 2 science vessels remaining, you score 1 prestige for each research tile you have. And if there are 1 or 0 science vessels remaining, you don't score anything for your research tiles. So that's everything you need to know about the Reason module in order to play it, with the exception of solo mode. So let's talk about the solo mode. Let's quickly set up this part here. I assume you know how to do this already. And we'll say that the automated opponent, the corrupted crew, is the yellow player. So here are some components for the yellow player. It would start off something like this. All right, during setup, you're going to find this Reason solo tile. So you can see it has an icon on it like placing a corrupted crew on a science vessel. And we are going to take that tile and put it on the fighter tile, or the fighter card, wherever the fighter card ended up in this little display, because of course that is randomized. The other thing you're going to do is take yet another unused player color. So let's take these green ones here, and you're going to place it next to that fighter card. These are corrupted scientists. And so the way this works is every time the corrupted crew successfully goes to a fighter, so it doesn't matter who they're sending, but if they send somebody to a fighter, where's a fighter? Right here. Then you also are going to take a corrupted scientist, take any of them, and place it on a science vessel. And specifically, they're going to go to whichever science vessel is closest to the fighter that they just occupied. And if there's a tie, then they're going to break the tie in clockwise order. If there happens to be 2 science vessels in the same sector, they're identical. So you don't need to worry about like, oh, are they going to pick this one or that one? If they're in the same sector, just pick either of them. But once they have occupied a science vessel, then they will discard the leftmost tile from the offer. And if the offer is already empty, then they just discard nothing. Now, a couple of notes on this. One, the rules specifically say to discard. So it does not sound to me like the corrupted crew actually gains the tile. So they don't score any points for these tiles at the end of the game. It seems that they're just denying you the tile. Secondly, when they place a corrupted scientist, they do not gain a hidden agenda card. You just ignore that part of the science vessel. They also don't move the science vessel, even though the science vessels can move. They don't move it at all. They're really just occupying it to block it from you. And then if you are playing on hard mode or the Voidfall difficulty, as far as I can tell, the corrupted scientists are all equal, even though one of them is a captain and 2 of them are cadets. The captain is normally called for the automated opponent. Their captain on hard mode is the Harbinger and spreads corruption around and always gets placed first. I don't see anything about that for these corrupted scientists. So I think you treat them all equally. I don't imagine that you start with the captain and corrupt the science vessel. I don't see anything in the rules to indicate that to me. And then finally, just to note, if the corrupted crew they're trying to place on a fighter and for whatever reason they cannot do so, and then they skip that card and go to the next card, they also skip this action and they won't place a scientist at all. So they only place the corrupted scientist on a science vessel and take the leftmost tile if they are successful in going to the fighter. And so that is it. That's everything you need to know to play the Reason module for Revenant. So again, if you found this helpful, please leave a like or subscribe to the channel. That would be helpful. I'll be going over the Faith module soon as well. I've also got a solo playthrough coming out showing the Reason module, so you won't want to miss those. Leave a comment if you think I've either made a mistake or if you've got some questions. I'd be happy to help you out. You can share this video with somebody else who you'd like to play the Reason module with. As usual, I'll upload this to Board Game Geek. You can like and comment over there. You can also pick up a Table for One micro badge. And if you really want to help out the channel, again, you can go to my Ko-fi page. There's a link in the description, but let me thank all the people whose names are on the screen. The reserved seating section is for all of my monthly contributors. So as long as you're an active monthly contributor, you'll get your name in all of my videos. And the Head of the Table Award is for the top 10 contributors over the last 90 days. I would love to see your name on the top of that list. So thank you again to everyone who's contributed to Table for One. But that's it for this video. I hope you found it helpful. I appreciate you watching Table for One, and I will see you in the next video.